Right, welcome to another episode of Money School TV. Today, I'm joined with a person that I've known for quite a few years now. We've worked together on several different events in the past, and she has a very, very important role in the post-COVID world right now as we all start to get back out there and travel. And what Sherrie does is she is the one to go to if you want to hold live events. That's her specialty, is putting on live events, everything from the very beginning of the planning to right through holding the events, being there at them, and making sure everything gets wrapped up nice and pretty in a perfect little package. So I asked Sherrie to come on today to talk a little bit about the specifics of events and kind of everything that goes into them and what to expect if you're thinking about doing live events or scaling and starting to do bigger events and things like that. So Sherrie, how are you? It's great to see you.
Great to see you too, Stephen. Yeah, it's been a while, right? Yeah, we've known each other for a number of years and worked on events. And as you said, there's a lot that goes into live events. And now with post-COVID world, things are a much different way of approaching live events. And I think today you and I having that conversation about what does that mean? What do I have to look out for is something that I think is going to be very helpful to your audience for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And if any of you guys were at the Daytona Beach event back in, when was that? April, May, I guess. So in May of 2022, we had the Money Multiplier event there in Daytona Beach, and Sherrie actually helped arrange and put that event on with Brent and Hannah and the team. So if any of you guys were at that event, then you've kind of experienced something. And so that was the last time that Sherrie and I did something together, and prior we had done a bunch of events. So with that being said, Sherrie, where do you want to kind of start? Because I know, I've helped put on a lot of events over the years myself. And especially when I start talking to somebody about like the planning of it and things, like you start really getting into it and you're like, oh man, there's just so much that goes into it. So it's amazing how organized and everything you stick with. But let's just kind of start the beginning. Like when you're thinking about like doing a live event, like who's it right for? Like, why are we doing live events? Like, why not just do Zoom these days? What do you think about that?
Yes, it's a great question, Stephen. And I would say that the whole purpose really on having a live event is because it's the best way to start building trust and to start building an experience for the people that you want to be in your tribe, as we like to say, right? People who want to follow you, know you, get to know you. It's sort of like when we were all through the COVID times of shutdowns where we couldn't even see our own family members, right? And we're like, oh, we need that hug. We need to be able to be with our family members. And it's the same way in your business. You need to be around like-minded people to be able to know and learn from them and to network. And there really is no other better way of doing it than in a live event, is to have an opportunity to get in front of them, to talk through with them and to teach them and to get them to understand and see what's going on. And you can't really do that through Zoom. Through Zoom, we get a lot of times where we get technical glitches where you don't know if someone's still there or not. Live, that person's there consistently in front of you. You get to build that rapport right away. And it also gets you an opportunity to be around more persons in the room other than just what's live. Through a live virtual event, which kind of kept the industry going for a bit of time, it gave them an opportunity to go through chat, ask questions, and get the industry still continuing to have the momentum to move forward and still learn. But I like to look at a way where virtual, just like anytime, you have an attention span of a very short attention span. And when you're watching something virtually, your mind will shift to, oh, I just got an email notification, or my phone just buzzed. I need to answer that call or that text message, things like that. But when you're in a live setting, your focus is more attention to what's happening in front of the room or the person that's standing in front of you. You might get a buzz in your pocket of what's happening with your phone, but you're going to tend to ignore it more than when you are in like a TV setting. How many times have we been on virtual events where someone doesn't even have their camera turned on? So you don't even know if they're actually paying attention. You and I have talked a lot of times about the benefits of live events, where if you are trying to give that experience of selling something to them, you want them to be part of your business and have an opportunity for them to grow and learn from you. The really, truly only way to build that trust with them is at a live event so that they can touch and feel and see what that is about, ask questions, get personal, talk to someone else in the room that may have experienced that product or service that you're offering and get to ask them questions and how did they do it? And just have that camaraderie that they're not going to have in a virtual setting.
Yeah, I mean, I did live events for over 10 years prior to COVID, and then we switched over and started doing it. I mean, Chris and I, we talk about it all the time. We were in Orlando doing an event, and we were sitting there in the morning, and nobody was showing up, and we like open our phones, and it's like, they shut down the whole world, and it's like everybody needs to go home right now, and we're like, holy shit, what do we do now? So we go and so we pivoted, and we started doing the Zooms, and we all learned how to do this virtual world. And I remember some of the first presentation, I'd be like, talking to you, and I'm like, all right, everybody raise your hands, like you do in like a from like stage, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm in a Zoom, I can't even see everybody, and it was just such a crazy thing. So I'm obviously a huge fan of live events and everything that you're saying, from the personal connection to just having that energy. I mean, you don't really get energy over a computer screen, and there's nothing like the energy in a room full of people. And so we are right now, we're really focusing on live events again. So starting this fall, going into the winter, and then our focus in 2023 is going to be all live events, but we're doing our first Money School Essentials training that we were doing before COVID. Our first live in-person one is going to be at the end of July up in Buffalo, New York. So that'll be a lot of fun to kind of get back in person. We've done 12 or 13 virtual events over the last couple of years, that specific training. And so coming back in person, we're so pumped about it and excited, and just getting that feeling back of getting everybody in the room. And, from a product standpoint, from a training standpoint, my side, the speaker side, there's nothing better, but from an attendee side too, like you were just saying, like I've tried to go on trainings and watch virtually. And those of you that like them, like more credit to you. But like you were saying, I find myself in like, oh shit, what did they just say? It's like, I should just watch the recording because I'm missing half of it anyways.
It's so true. And yes, doing it through COVID, it was one of those things where it was essential, right? You needed to keep things moving. You still needed to be in front of people. And I would tell people that a lot. I was actually on the virtual end quite a bit. I built my YouTube channel during COVID. It was like, you had to continue staying in front of people. So I don't want to say virtual events aren't the way to go. I would just say at this point in time, they are not the only way to go anymore. People are ready to get back. Hybrid events are a great way to still continue to allow people to have that opportunity to participate, as well as being live. So if people still have that, well, I'm not able to go because I don't have enough staff to keep things going, I have to stay back, or I have problems with my health and I don't feel comfortable traveling still, still having that hybrid as an option for them is a great way to go. And I have a lot of clients that do that, but definitely live is the way to go. And you had asked me a question, Stephen, of who are live events for? And, truly that's a great question, because live events are for anyone who, if they have some sort of training, some sort of service, a product that is either a training or an actual material item, a product that the person gets to take home with them and do it for themselves, like a done for you product, anything that you are able to offer to them from the front of the room, a live event, that is for you. So if you're someone that's listening or watching this recording right now and you're like, well, I don't know, is a live event for me? Do you have followers who listen to your every word and they want to hear more from you and they can't get enough training from you? A live event is for you. If you're someone who is ready to take your company and your business to the next level, because you're like, okay, I've been doing X, Y, and Z for this amount of time, and now I'm ready to really kick it up a notch and launch something new, and you have followers that are ready to learn and know what that next something new is, a live event is for you. If you're someone who is just starting out and you want to find a great way to get in front of people and to build trust right away, as long as you've got enough people to support you and to have people in the room, a live event could be for you. It doesn't have to be hundreds of people in the room in order for you to have a successful live event. It just has to be done well. And that's where strategic planning comes into play, with the logistics and piecing it and putting it together with the growth of your business and what you have to offer.
Yeah. And I was going to, kind of taking a step back, like from the beginning, like, okay. And one of the things with the changing economy and the markets and everything that we're seeing right now, and we're going to see a lot of over the next year or two, it's going to create a lot of opportunities out there. And anytime there's a lot of opportunities available, people are going to come up with new solutions for problems. And it's going to create these ways where you can come up with these products, come up with these services, and then you got to get that out there in front of the people. And so these events are a great way to do it. I love what you said about the hybrid events. We're going to try the hybrid model at that July event in Buffalo for anybody that can't make it to upstate New York. So we'll see how that goes. But what you were saying there is it doesn't have to be a lot of people either. Like one thing we're doing right now is put 20, 25 people in a room. We'll fly out to you and we'll do an event for you, with you. And so you can do smaller, and it doesn't, and as far as like venues go, like I just wanted to hit on that because that's kind of like the start. Like, okay, well, where do I do this event? Like, I don't want to do it at my house. I don't, necessarily want to go to like a stadium. It doesn't have to be like a huge movie theater type production. Like, but that's where you are very good at, right, Sherrie? And on that too. So I want you to talk about that, but also like if I know working with you how this works, but I want to say it for everybody. So if I just call, like, for instance, a hotel right now and say, hey, you guys have a ballroom, I'm looking at renting it from you for the day. They're going to throw all this stuff at you, try and sell you all this stuff that you probably don't even need. And who knows, like they're going to tell you, okay, it's $1,000 for the day. And you're like, okay, well, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. Okay, let's do 1,000. Where you could call them and say, well, I want this, this, and this. And all of a sudden they give you the ballroom for free because you're adding on stuff, or you know what I mean? But can you talk a little bit about that? Like how you find venues, like what that looks like?
Exactly. And the shocking part for some people right now is if you did an event, no matter how small or big, before COVID, and then you didn't do one for a while, and now after COVID you're struggling because the industry right now, the hotel industry, is a really, really, really different ball game. Through COVID, we were having an opportunity to play the game with them a little bit because they needed business, but now that's the one thing, is they are booming. So negotiations, you really, really need a professional to help you with that. But yes, an event planner can be your partner to help you find the right venue. And it does not have to be a hotel. It could be a movie theater. It could be a private room in a restaurant. It could be anywhere depending on the size, and having someone that can talk through your initial goal of what you want to have, what you want this event to look like, and what the goal and purpose of it is, will help you narrow down the best venue options for you, because there's so many different types of venues that you can host an event at. A couple of logistics, Stephen, that you probably wanted me to hint on, or things that people need to look out for is this just going to be a one-day event? If it's a one-day event, then a lot of the logistics and hidden things, hidden fees, hidden little clauses and such inside of a venue contract isn't as necessary for you to pay attention to as much as it is in a 2-day or more events. And the reason I say that is because if you say, okay, I call up a hotel, I call up a venue and say, I need a room for the day. And they're like, okay, they're going to book your room. What is the meeting? It's about from 8 to 5. Okay, well, they're going to contract you from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Well, let's say you want to come in and set up, and you want to be able to do a small mini rehearsal, and you've got materials you got to hand out, things like that. Or at the end of the day, you want to be able to hang out in the room and close some deals. Well, if you don't contract it for the appropriate amount of time, they could kick you out of the room because they have another meeting waiting to come back in. So you really have to think about all of the logistics, because a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. Right. So you have to think through all of the different points of, yes, my meeting is only from 8 to 5, but I need time to get in beforehand to set up. I've got audio-visual equipment. I've got materials I want to hand out. There's registration. Yes, I want to hang out in the room a little bit with people. I don't want them to immediately have to leave the room because they just learned to trust me and they want to learn more from me and they want time to ask questions, take pictures, do some social media postings, things like that. And if you get kicked out of the room right away, you've lost that opportunity because it's just nothing but awkwardness. So things like that are really important for people to think, even if you're only considering a one-day event. There are hidden fees. Yes, you had mentioned one of the things that I love doing is I do not like it when a client has to pay room rental. So there's different ways that you can ask hotels for other ways of giving them revenue. You're already going to have the room, so why pay a rental fee to get the room? Ask the hotel, what are some other ways that I can give you revenue? Because that's what they're looking for, so that I get a better experience. One of those ways is through food and beverage. So asking them, okay, well, what is it that you're expecting from me? If it's a one-day event, then, maybe you're just doing some coffee or tea or something like that throughout the day. You could spend a few $100s on that. or maybe you're doing a meal or you're doing a snack break or something like that. Just let them know what your budget is. I have a way, a lot of my clients are either brand new to an event or they're not, their budget isn't ready to like provide meals. You don't have to provide meals for your attendees. What they want is they want convenience. Thinking about what, again, going back to what's the purpose of the event. If you want them in the room for the majority of the time, a lot of people are coffee drinkers. So making sure that you've got coffee provided for them at least a few times throughout the day is really all you need. But if it's an event where they're in there a long period of time, or you're at a place where there's no meals or food for them to be able to quickly grab, providing that for them is going to make your event even more of a better experience for them to want to come back and stay in the room.
Yeah, I mean, and even like the small things, like I always look at all the rooms over the years that I've go to, and like you call up the hotel again, not knowing what you're doing. You have a million other things on your mind. You're like, I just need a ballroom to fit 30 people. We're good.
Yeah.
And then you get there, and there's columns, or you have all these doors and windows behind you, and there's no place to put a screen. It's so bright, it just ruins the whole thing. So there's all these little things too that I'm sure you look at doing that you might just not think of. Like. I mean, we had very specifics what we needed with a room, but there's so many, you go in and the hotel's going to put you in whatever they can get rid of, right? If they don't ask
absolutely.
for it. So
yeah, especially if you are calling as the person from your company, right? And you're not calling as a representation of an event planner. An event planner, when they call a hotel, they usually know that person's experience and are going to ask those proper questions. So that's a good point, Stephen, because a lot of times what I do ask, and this is good for your people who are listening to this, is ask for pictures of the room. Say, hey, I see the size of the room. And most times people who don't know what they don't know, they're not going to know the appropriate size of the room. So ask for a picture of the room. Ask them to do a diagram of how you want the room set up, because there's several different ways. You've been and hosted many events yourself. The standard usually is what we call classroom style. And that's just a long table with a couple of chairs behind it facing the stage. But there's also different ways to set it up. There's round tables. There's what we call crescent, where you want them to sit only half around so that everybody is front facing the stage. Those two are the two ideal, and depending on the type of event is what you choose, so that people have a place to set their materials and take notes. So always ask those questions and get the hotel to show you the flexibility of the space. And if you get a diagram, this actually just happened to me 2 weeks ago, where the hotel sent me a picture of the room. And this is how sneaky they're getting. They sent me a picture of the room. And I was like, well, this seems kind of weird, because it was just half the room. And I'm like, okay, well, I sent my client out for a site tour because it was in his area. And I said, let's get me the diagram. They sent me the diagram the night before. And in the diagram, there's these boxes down the middle of the room that leads up to the stage. And I'm like, are these columns? And I'm like, oh yeah, they're mirrored columns down the middle of the room. Nobody's going to want to host an event with let alone columns, but mirrored columns all the way down the room, where the column is right there at the stage. And my client gets there and he tours and he goes, I don't want to be looking at myself from stage, because the column was like right there. So exactly, a good point, Stephen, is you need to know those questions to ask. And if you don't have the flexibility in your schedule to go do a tour, get as many pictures as you can, get a diagram, get the layout of the lands. Where is this event? Where is this meeting space inside of the hotel itself? Is it right by the main lobby? Is it on the ground level? Is it street level? Is there sound? If there are windows in the room, are there coverings to cover it so that you can still be able to see the screen properly? Where's the access to the restrooms? Those particular questions you definitely want to ask. And if you don't know what you don't know, the hotel, unfortunately, will take advantage of that. And it's not really out of spite, it's out of lack of support and staffing that they're facing right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love what you said about the food and negotiating. And because, I mean, you think about it, if they're going to charge you $1,000 for the room for the day, let's say, but you can say, listen, you weren't going to provide food, but then you ask the right questions and they're like, well, we can provide lunch for everybody for $1,200 and then give you the room for free for an extra $200. Now you're providing lunch to the entire room. The attendees, the students, the people there for you, they don't know what you paid or what you didn't pay or how that works. So, that's so important. I mean, and that's comes with experience. So if you're new to this, like you keep saying, you just don't know what you don't know. So, we say it all the time when it comes to money multiplier, Will Rogers says the problem in America isn't so much what people think they know, it's or what people know, it's what they think they know that just ain't so. And it's exactly right. So those are all
So
really
true.
good little points. And it is the little things. That was always my thing when I was on the road a lot, was it's the little things that truly make the biggest difference, because anybody can put an event on, anybody can bring people into a room, but it's those little things, what the room looks like, their experience while they're there, like just even as simple as, I remember we do events around like Christmas time, and we'd go in, and like I remember going to this ball, we had to get to the point where we said no decorations, because we went to a ballroom one time and there were so many Christmas lights in Christmas. There was like 20 Christmas trees lining the doors of this place, the
Oh my
walls of this
goodness.
place, lights everywhere draped. And we're like, this is awesome, but it's so distracting for like a professional business meeting. And so we had to like be
Yes.
like, no Christmas stuff from that point forward. So it's those little things that you just don't even think about that can happen at these hotels. And like you said, they're going to
Right.
take advantage of somebody new. And it's not even their fault a lot of times, because what if they have someone new there that just doesn't know what to tell you? So it all comes together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't communicate to one another either. So, that's another
Mhm.
side point too. I want to make sure that your listeners know is that if they choose to attempt to do this on their own without a professional to help them walk through the process, make sure everything that you agree to with the salesperson is in writing. It's in your contract. Don't say, "Oh, no worry, don't worry about it." Because number one, you don't know if that person's going to be around down the line. Number two, if it's not in the contract, that does not mean the hotel has approved it. Just because that person says yes, it doesn't mean that it was approved by the hotel. So make sure everything is in writing in your contract. It's signed. Initial and sign every single page of your hotel contract, not just the last page, because they could sneakily replace it, and it not necessarily mean on purpose. It could be if you've gone through many different changes throughout the contract, the wrong page just got printed and put into the file. So initial everything, read everything thoroughly. And if you don't know what something means, don't be embarrassed to ask them. What does this fee mean? What do you mean I have to provide this? What does this mean? Because if they don't know the answer, that means they need to go to someone else who does know the answer. Because the last thing you want to have happen is you sign on with a hotel and you didn't understand what this particular clause meant, and you're already signed on the dotted line with them, and you're just say a couple of months out or even weeks out from your event, and they turn around and say, well, you've got to use my labor, you got to use my union labor, you got to pay this amount of money to be able to put on this type of event, X, Y, or Z. And here you are thinking that you're going to only spend this amount of money on your event, but because you didn't ask the proper questions to get the answers that you needed before signing on the dotted line, now you're out of pocket more money than you anticipated. So always ask questions that you don't know the answers to based on something that you're signing with the venue you choose. And if the person can't explain it to you, have them get somebody on the phone that can.
That's all awesome stuff on the venue. I mean, it's all very, very important. So what I want to do is kind of pivot over a little bit and talk about like the logistics. So there's two
Yeah.
things that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you are able to help with these two things. So first off, if you're somebody that's smaller, like let's just say you have an idea, you have a product, you have a service, something that you want to get out there, and you want to have an event, invite people so you can, spend a few hours with them, the day with them, 2 days, whatever it is. Maybe you don't have a lot of staff or a lot of other people that can help put this thing on. And when you have an event, I mean, you got to think about, you got to get people there. You got to have somebody to check them in and, make sure they're there, give out name tags or whatever the case is, kind of, help guide them to the bathrooms and stuff like that throughout. Maybe if you're a one-man show, who's going to maybe MC the event or introduce, and are you going to have other speakers? Is it just you? Well, if you have other speakers, how are those other speakers going to get there? Where are they going to stay? How are they going to travel? How are they going to get to the venue? Like some speakers are, what do I want to say? Prima donnas, maybe? To be nice. Some are, but so do you want to deal with all of that, or do you even know how to deal with all that? So I
Right.
believe that's all stuff that you can help with, whether it's, being there with them at the event, checking people in yourself with the person, or just
Mhm.
arranging all that travel for the staff, for the other speakers. And you've been doing this for a while now, so you have a lot of
Yeah.
connections, I believe. So,
Mhm.
maybe you can help find, a special speaker to come in, like a keynote person or an MC or somebody like that can come in and really just put that event to where it's going to be good, but put it over the top. So maybe talk a little bit about all
Excellent.
that you kind of can help with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been doing events for over 17 years. So through that opportunity, I've met and networked with so many different people. I think a couple of events you and I did a number of years back, I helped vet a lot of speakers for that event. And you really, really do need, that's important to vet the speakers and MCs that you're going to be having and inviting to your event. You want to make sure that they are not in direct competition with you, that they are in proper alignment with you, and that they are going to pretty much edify and endorse what it is you're teaching, because they're teaching something similar, but on a different topic or different level, right? So it all kind of meshes and blends together. So yeah, the services that I can help people out with range based on what their budget and their needs are, so I can help with them on site for anything from a starting point of registration, getting people signed in and checked in prior to the start of the event with name badges and any proper forms that they need signed. I would talk through the client on what those forms need to be, like media release forms, waivers of any kind. You want to make sure people are signing those. I've got documentations that I've worked and used and helped my clients create based on the basics that we want to make sure are covered. So I can help with those. I can help map out what the agenda should look like based on what your purpose of the event is. That's part of my role that I've established over the past 8 years is I like to call myself a strategic event planner. Okay. So someone who comes to me and says, look, I have an idea. This is what I want to do. Help me run with it. And we sit down and we talk from A to Z, why do you want to have this event? What's the purpose? What do you want that outcome to look like? And we strategically plan out that process. And we come up with, should it be a 2-day event, a 2.5-day event, a 3-day event, a 1.5-day event, based on what those discussions come out with, helping people figure out the best way to sell from stage, that high ticket item, discovering that you already have the tools and resources internally within your business can then relate to a wonderful experience for an event. An event should not be something separate from your business. It should be a part of your business. It should be part of your marketing funnel and part of your growth. And that's part of the strategy that I talk through with clients. Yes, I do help bring in sponsors as well as speakers, getting them on board, managing, I like to call it like a concierge white glove service, because like you said, Stephen, you don't want to have to deal with all of that yourself. The whole purpose of the promoter is to get butts in seats and to put your content together and teach what it is that you want to teach, the whole reason of you having the event. So having a professional like myself on board to help with all of those logistics of making sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed and staff is where they need to be, and getting speakers in their rooms booked and the contracts signed and their presentations brought in and reviewed, and all of the things that you need for your website. I like to always say the things that I don't do is a lot less than the things that I do. And the things that I don't do, if you don't have the capability within your own company to do it, because of the relationships over the past almost 2 decades, I have people that you can connect with that will be able to help you with that, like copywriting, graphic design, web design, marketing, those kinds of things, audiovisual, swag, anything that you're going to need for an event. If you don't have the resources within your own company to do it, I have contacts that I could connect you with that can bring you great value at a great price.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So basically as little help or as much help as you need, you can pretty much offer those different options.
Exactly. Yeah, I like to call myself someone who's a customized strategic planner.
Yeah.
I want to work with that person based on the level of budget they have and the need that is required for them to achieve this best success and best opportunity that they can for their first experience.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, this has been good, Sherrie. I think that we gave a lot of good information on people looking to get events started. You've been a huge asset to us in the past, and I'm sure you will, in the near future as well, as we continue to get out here in this world and start doing events and having fun and meeting and building that energy and have a good time. And they really are fun too. I mean, there's nothing better than having a successful day and kicking back at the bar afterwards and chatting about it and meeting people and hanging out. So I love what you do. And I really appreciate your time today, sharing this with everybody. And so how, we'll put your contact information, but what's the best way to kind of get a hold of you? Just if someone's listening right now.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. Probably best way is through email. So Sherrie at slseventplanning.com. It's SHERRIE at S as in Sherrie, L as in Larry, S as in Sherrie, eventplanning.com. All of my details about what I do, my services is on my website, which is slseventplanning.com. So they can reach out to me. I'd be happy to schedule a 30-minute no charge consultation with anyone who has questions about, hey, is an event right for me? And they can reach out to me through email or through the website and make a connection that way as well.
I love it. So, I mean, the only thing I could add to this is do it. Like if you're thinking about, getting something out there in front of people, just do a small live event, try it, just do it in your local area. You don't have to do a big, massive national campaign. Just do something local, invite people you already know, or people already in your network or whatever. But just do something where you can have it and try your first one. And if it's great, then grow from there. If it's not your thing, then at least you learn. But to me, it's one of the most valuable ways to get in front of people and really connect with them. And at the end of the day, that's what business is. Business is about connections. It's about relationships, and it's about that energy. So go out there and do it. And if you need any help whatsoever, small amount, everything done, I highly recommend Sherrie, SLS Event Planning, to do that for you. So Sherrie, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, cool. We'll see you soon.
Okay.